When I was in elementary school, I was the type of kid who got disrupts class often on their report card, so I never focused much on school. My district had this system where they would pair high schoolers with younger kids to help them with school etc., and my mom made me do that after I kept getting in trouble. And #X200B. So my tutor was a freshman, Abby, so she would come to our house after school to help me with my homework or something, I barely remember. My brother John was the same age as Abby, so they would talk to each other and ended up dating. She stopped tutoring me officially after like a month, but since she was at our house a lot I also talked to Abby a lot and we were close as well. And #X200B. Fast forward 10 years, Abby and John got married and had a kid together. 5 years later John tells me that he's getting a divorce because he's met someone new. It sucked because I liked John and Abby together a lot, but whatever. Then he tells me he had an affair with his new girlfriend. Also sucks, and I told him he shouldn't have hurt Abby like that, but whatever. I also asked Abby how she was doing and she wasn't doing well, but she told me she didn't want her to be the reason I have a bad relationship with my brother. And #X200B. However, 2 months before the wedding, Abby calls me and tells me that my brother's girlfriend has been harassing her non-stop. She showed me the texts and his girlfriend was saying some pretty disturbing things about how she's so much better than Abby, taunting Abby for having to share custody of her kids now, etc., just making fun of her and bullying her. And #X200B. I told my brother about this and he said he would ask his girlfriend about it. A month later I asked him if he ever brought it up and he said he did but saw nothing wrong with the texts, which pissed me off. I confirmed that he saw the same texts I saw. Abby apologized for involving me in the whole thing in the first place and encouraged me to still go to the wedding, where my brother asked me to make a speech. And #X200B. The speech went well until I made a joke. The gist of the joke was me turning to his new wife and telling her that if she's learned anything from this she should know that my brother will never let his wife stop him from finding the love of his life. And #X200B. This got my brother and his wife really mad, and they kicked me out shortly after, and my brother has been calling, texting me non-stop yelling at me. And #X200B. TLDR, made a joke about brother's affair. Ada? I, 27F, used to be an escort, H/Oker, from 18 until I was 23. I'm not proud of it, but I also don't give a fuck because I did what I had to do to keep studying and a roof over my head. That's how I met my now fiancé, 37M, though he was never my client. We began to date when I was 25, and 3 or 4 months after that his bill exposed me. No idea how he found out, because there's no way my fiancé knew, and thus we had to come clean in front of his whole family. Yes, I did that. Yes, he knows. Yes, he doesn't care. It was 2 years ago. At that time, we got over it. After that there was a span of 3-4 months in where my mill and some of my fiancé's aunts and cousin policed their husband when I was around. It was really weird tbh because this dudes were like 46 yo and I wasn't that desperate, so my fiancé shut their bullshit hard, and even when his family still gives me the side eye from time to time, we thought it was behind us. He proposed last year and 5 months ago he found out that I was pregnant. We were really happy about it and we told his family as soon as we knew. His sisters and young brother were happy for us, but his mom took me aside and begged me to be honest with her and asked if this was really my fiancé's child. I was taken aback, but I just rolled my eyes and said yes. She gave me some shitty speech about how she only wanted to make sure and that she was happy to be a grandmother. Well, last weekend we were at his parents' with his family and some of his friends, and we were talking about the name, how he might look. Small talk. We will love him regardless, but there's always some "oh, I hope he gets your nose." MMH, I like your eyes, I hope he gets them comments. And my Phil said that he and his children have a birthmark in the inner tight and that even his grandchildren, one of my Sil's kids, got them, so our baby might too. And then he said, but how can we know from who he got it? It may as well be from me, my boy, or my brothers. And he and his brothers began to laugh. My fiancé got mad, and before he could say anything I said I don't get it, and my Phil was yeah because it runs in the family, and I said again I don't get it, why would he get it from you? And he began to get nervous and said because you know. It's just a joke op, and I said but I don't get it, and you all laughed. Explain. It got to the point that some of his friends said hey, it's not funny, so he excused himself and left. Later my fiancé's bill came to me and said that I was wrong for embarrassing him like that at his own house and that I knew what the joke was about, and because of my past, I shouldn't be surprised. Now they're all demanding that I apologize to my Phil. The situation is kind of a mess. I, F27, am expecting my first baby with my husband. This is the first grandchild in the family, in-laws, and they said that if the baby's a boy then we'll give him my father-in-law's name. He's dead due to cancer. I had no problem with that. This happened before we found out the gender of the baby. My husband and his family had me do things like attend prayers and do other rituals before the reveal at the doctor's. I didn't like that but went with it to keep the peace. Doctoral appointment came, and it turned out to be a girl. My husband cried in the car, then turned his phone off to hide from his family, then finally told them. His mom and the others made their frustration and disappointment clear, which bothered me cause my daughter deserves to be celebrated, but they ghosted me for days, then started coming over and visiting, constantly referring to my daughter as my son, claiming the results were false and basically pretending it's a boy. I had severe fights with them after they refused to stop it, and my husband sided with them despite seeing how wrong and unreasonable what they were doing was. We didn't speak for a while. Sister-in-law called to apologize, then informed me she arranged for a baby shower for me. I was so excited and happy. But when I arrived I saw blue balloons, blue cake with father-in-law's name, decorations around. I was so confused I had to sit down. Sister-in-law explained they were still hoping the gender results are false and it's a boy. I looked at my husband and he agreed with her. I lost my temper and yelled at them all, calling them delusionals and telling them to stop treating my daughter like she's unwanted and act like she doesn't exist by throwing a party for their imaginary grandson. Mother-in-law break down crying. I took my bag and walked out immediately. They started yelling and my husband followed me outside and started arguing about how I insulted his family and his dad's memory by acting like that. I told him to wake up and see the insanity in his family's behavior. He said they needed time to process the fact that it's a girl not a boy as they expected, and insisted I play along and they'll soon get over it. I said absolutely not and demanded he take me home. He said no, so I called an Uber and left. He was fuming. He called 15 times, then texted that he won't be coming home till I get my ass over and apologize for ruining everything they've done for me and accusing them of being mentally unstable. I haven't responded yet. He's constantly pressuring me to get right with his family before we even talk about anything else. My boyfriend M/27 started asking to join me in my girls' night in. Every time I tried to say no he'd be like, I have to join or you'll have to cancel. It made me and the girls miserable having to sit there with him in the middle. This past Friday he insisted to join us again. I had enough. I came up with an idea to get him to hate hanging out with us, made a plan and told the girls what we were going to do and they were down for it. The girls came and my boyfriend immediately sat with us and started ruining our conversations by steering them towards him, his work, his achievement. So here's what I did. I started bringing up gross/embarrassing subjects and the girls were eating them up by talking about them in details. Subjects like sevks, periods, his most sensitive spot, cramped diarrhea, hairy legs, fart getting trapped in the vulva and coming out the front, squeezing shit out of our faces, cramped diarrhea, dirty underwear, and again ... cramped diarrhea. We talked about this stuff in boring details, like ... I could feel his discomfort without even looking at him. But God, when I turned to see why he got quiet suddenly. He was getting red in the face, and had sweat all over his forehead. I bet he found himself unable to relate to thighs subject, thus couldn't take part in the conversation. He got up from the couch ready to head out. I looked at him and asked where he was going and he was like, I just remembered that I have an important meeting with a guy in about 10 minutes and ... I have to go now. He rushed out telling us to have fun. The girls and I started laughing hysterically. He came home and berated me, saying I made him feel uncomfortable, sick with the horrible subjects I kept bringing. I said, what you talking about? This is the typical stuff girls talk about all the time, but he insisted I made him upset and caused him to leave. He declined to speak to me and been quiet since then. Ada? Update y'all. Wow, just got home and left this post at 70-ish comments, and here I am looking at hundreds of comments but only read a bunch,
You guys. Thank you so much for your feedback and enlightening advice. Just to add context, this is his apartment. He tells me who is and isn't allowed to come, and I thought this was fine since it's his place, though I help with the bills, but he makes so much more as the head of security in his company, so that's that. I just can't believe how dense and blind I've been to his negative ways. He's still giving me the silent treatment, and I've decided it's just a lot to take, and so I'm temporarily moving in with one of the girls and will now be definitely reconsidering few things. Just wanted to keep you guys updated since many of you got engaged in this post. Thank you so much for those giving me their concerns. Appreciate your time and concerns. Many hugs go out to you guys. I really appreciate you all. Smile. I have a son, Adam 14, from my previous marriage. I'm currently with my husband of 4 years. I handle everything related to Adam's school. He has a friend, Dean 14, that he started hanging out with a year ago. Dean is an amazing boy and has been nothing but a great influence for Adam. I met Dean's dad, Mike, who's a single dad, and we'd see each other daily for school pickup, drop-offs. My husband kept asking about Mike and pointed out that he's being boundary stomping, but I disagree. Unfortunately, Adam fell sick months ago and had to undergo a surgery recently. It's been hard, but Dean kept visiting. Sometimes Mike would come too, and my husband would either ignore Mike or make passive comments towards him. Mike picked up on that, and I told my husband to knock it off cause his hostility affected Adam and Dean as well. Days ago, I found Adam crying in his room. This was weeks after getting discharged. I asked, and he said that Dean sent him a text telling him they were no longer friends and blocked his number. I was confused. They were fine. I wanted to go talk to Dean, but the next day I found his phone in my husband's car. I confronted him and he said he borrowed it from Dean, but I didn't buy it. After pushing, he confessed that he stole Dean's phone at the hospital and sent Adam a text telling him to not contact him again. I asked why, and he said it was all Mike's fault for being too close to me and acting inappropriately, and said that he didn't want to directly tell Adam to no longer speak to Dean and chose this strategy to not make Adam hate him while keeping Dean and by extension Mike away. This hit a nerve so hard I started screaming at him. He said he already expressed how uncomfortable he felt with Mike being around, and I kept brushing it off. I said it was because of how ridiculous his argument was. Mike has been nothing but respectable and helpful. I yelled, calling him insecure and unreasonable and also cruel for causing Adam heartache with his stunt. He begged I don't tell Adam, but I took the phone and returned it to Dean and explained to him and Adam what happened. Adam is no longer speaking to my husband, and he is blaming me for telling instead of keeping it between the adults like I'm supposed to.